Welcome to your first of two grammar lessons about the present perfect. The present perfect. This is a tense that when students talk about scary tenses that they do not feel comfortable using, present perfect is high on the list. Lots of students don't have a present perfect in their own language. And very much like the present simple, and very much like the simple future with will, there are very specific kind of situations or contexts that we use the present perfect in. And so what makes students uncomfortable is that they don't know what those contexts are. Like, when do I use this tense? It also is a bit difficult as a tense because it has some strange, like the grammar is a bit strange. But I hope today we are going to become more comfortable with the present perfect, and later in the next video, the present perfect continuous, even scarier tense. So what you will need today is just your notebook and a pen, because if you want, you can do some of these activities with me. I recommend that you do that. It will help you learn. Okay, so we are going to start by making a sentence. Oh my god! Can you see that? I'm bleeding. I'm not really. It's board marker, obviously. Okay, so ow! Oh my god! What I want you to do right now is I want you to make a sentence about this situation. So pause your screen and write maybe 2 sentences, maybe 3 sentences. Don't worry about the grammar. Does not have to be present perfect. Any sentence is okay. So make some sentences about this situation. Okay. You should be back. Maybe you unpaused. Okay, so here are some sentences that students usually make. Okay. Justine is bleeding. This is totally correct. It's true. I'm bleeding. Justine is bleeding. It is in the present continuous because it is an action that is happening now in this moment, and it is continuing. Okay, so this is perfectly great if you made this sentence. All right. Justine cut her finger. Okay, this sentence is also great. We are using the simple past because it is an action that happened in the past, and it is finished. Like, I am not continuing to cut my finger now. The cut is in the past, and it is done. So we use the simple past. Okay, so this is one of these situations where many different tenses are possible to be used, and all of them are correct. But there is a third way that we can describe this situation. And actually, it is a combination of these two things, because these things are both true. I cut my finger in the past, but I am still bleeding now. So this is interesting. This is an action, or at least a situation, that is kind of connecting the past and the present. I cut my finger in the past, but I am still bleeding now in the present. And this is really like one of the major uses of the present perfect. The present perfect is a very strange tense because it is our tense that connects the past and the present together. Because sometimes something happens in the past, but you can see the result of the action in the present. So we can also use the sentence, Justine has cut her finger. When I hear this sentence as an English person, my brain connects the past and the future. The past and the present. So my brain says, okay, Justine cut her finger in the past, but there is some reason why this action is still important in the present. And if you see me and I cut my finger, but it is bleeding and I'm like, and I'm in pain, and the result of this action is very much important right now, then we use the present perfect to connect these two situations into one tense. So Justine has cut her finger. So if someone says, oh my God, Justine has cut her finger, this means that there's something important happening now. And so you say, oh, is she okay? Can I call the doctor? Does she need a bandage? Like, you're going to respond in the present because it has present importance. A past action with present importance. Okay, let's take a look at how we make the present perfect. Oh, okay. Justine has cut her finger. So Justine is the subject. Now we have this auxiliary verb has. And the auxiliary verb has is in the present. And it agrees with the subject. So I have, you have, he, she, it has with an S. We have, they have, you have, bleh. So the verb, the auxiliary verb have always agrees with the subject. Okay, and then we have our main verb. And our main verb is in the past participle. The main verb is in the past participle. So if you look on any of those verb sheets that you can get, usually they are at the back of your grammar textbook. In the grammar exercises pack that I gave you, I think one of the first or second pages is a list of like, this is the base form, this is the simple past, this is the past participle. And I think this is one of the reasons that students don't like using the present perfect is because you have to put verbs in the past participle and that feels like awkward or uncomfortable. Okay, so this is how you make the present perfect. Subject, have or has, and it agrees with the subject, and then the past participle of the main verb. Cut is a weird one. Cut is the same in the base form, the simple past, and the past participle. It's cut, cut, cut. So Justine has cut her finger. Okay, so Justine has cut her finger. What I want you to do right now is pause, and I want you to try to make this sentence negative into a yes-no question or a WH question. Okay. While you are doing this, I'm going to show you. Can you see? Oh, maybe not. Can you see my sleeping cat? There she is. And yes, I have many plants. Okay, hopefully you are back. You finished your exercise. Let's do it together. Okay. So Justine has cut her finger. We make this negative by taking has and making that negative. So Justine hasn't cut her finger. Okay, so it's hasn't, or if you have another subject, haven't. So we are making the auxiliary verb negative. Okay, cut stays the same. And this still agrees with the subject. Okay, so a yes-no question, we usually take the subject and the verb closest to the subject, so in this case, has, and we switch them. So, has Justine cut her finger? Okay. And then to make a WH word, we just keep this structure, but we add a WH word here. So we're going to say, like, what has Justine cut? There we go. So that is the structure of the present perfect. Easy peasy. Okay, so now we're going to talk about when and how do we use this. I'm going to try something new. I had to look it up. I'm going to try to pause my video while I change my board, and then when I return, my board should be different. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, hopefully I'm back and I'm recording again. Oh my God, this is life-changing. I had to research on the internet for like 45 minutes to figure out how to do this. There isn't just a pause button. That would be too easy. Okay, I'm back. All right, so the first major reason that we use the present perfect is just what we described in our first example, and that is a past finished action with a result in the present. So just like my cut finger, the action, the cut, is finished. It is in the past. But there is bleeding and and that is a result of this action that's happening in the present. A really good example of this is actually haircuts. Maybe you will notice that today my hair is a little bit shorter. It's different today. So you could ask me, Justine, have you had your hair cut? And so my answer is yes. Someone cut my hair last night. The action is finished, but you can see the result of the action right now in the present. So we're using the present perfect to connect these two situations together. The haircut that happened and is finished in the past, and the result that you can see right now, and it is surprising, and hopefully you think I look amazing. I think I look amazing. So yeah. Now, sight is not the only way that we can notice something in the present. We can actually use all of our senses to notice the result of a past action in the present. So we use sight, like you can see me bleeding. We can use smell, you can smell something. We can use touch, like something feels different. We can use hearing, and we can use taste. We can use all our senses to help us figure out what the result of a past action is in the present. Okay. So I have these situations up here, and they're all in present perfect simple question form. Have you cooked a chicken? Have you been to the beach? Has it rained? Have you been to the gym? So I just want you to take a few minutes, and I want you to imagine these situations. And it's like, cooked a chicken, been to the beach, rained, and gym, gone to the gym. These are all actions that are finished in the past. But what are we noticing in the present that is getting us to ask the question? So let's do the first one together. I want you to imagine you are entering into your mother's or grandmother's house. And what is the first thing you notice when someone has cooked a chicken? You don't see the chicken, you are not in the kitchen, but you are definitely going to use your sense of smell. So maybe the chicken is finished cooking, but you can smell it and say, have you cooked a chicken? And the answer is probably yes. Okay, so I want you to do these ones, and sometimes it can be more than one sense that is helping you recognize the result of these past actions. Okay. All right, so have you been to the beach? So remember, the action of being to the beach is finished. This person has gone to the beach and they have returned. But what can we notice about them that lets us know they went to the beach in the present? So I'm going to say the first thing is smell. People have a really strong beach smell when they have been to the water. They maybe smell like the ocean. They maybe smell like suntan lotion, like a coconut smell. The other thing that we can use is sight. So maybe they look tanned or like red. Their skin is a different color. That is a very like unique beach look. It can even be touch. If you touch them and there is sand on their body and you're like, oh, have you been to the beach? So we can use a lot of our senses to help us feel or smell or see the result of having been to the beach. Okay. Has it rained? This is a lovely one. Remember, the raining is finished. It is a finished action in the past. But what is the result of rain? The first thing is that we can see that it is wet outside. Maybe wet on our window, wet on the street. But the other thing that's really interesting about rain is smell and also like touch. Like you can go outside and the air feels humid and wet and like there's that after rain smell. So we're using all of our senses to figure out, oh, it rained in the past. Okay. Have you been to the gym? This can be also many different senses. It can be sight, like maybe you are dressed in gym clothes and carrying a gym bag. Maybe you are sweaty, and that can be touch, or that can be smell, like, ugh, have you been to the gym? So there's lots of ways that we use our senses to find out that a past action has connected to a present result of that action. Okay, I want you to pause and I want you to think of 2 more examples of past actions that have present results. And I want you to write 2 present perfect questions asking about that. So pause right now, and I'm also going to pause, and when we come back, we'll go on to the next stage. Okay, let me do this again. Dun, dun. I'm back. Okay, so we have some typical adverbs that we use with the present perfect. We use for and since, and I will get to that later. But we also use already, just, oh no, I circled the wrong thing. This is the word I want. Yet. Let's just erase this. Okay, so we use already, just, and yet. So I haven't eaten lunch yet. Okay, so I want you to imagine this situation. There are 2 people, and the first person says, hey, do you want to go to Tim Hortons with me? Oh, can you imagine? Do you remember going to Tim Hortons with people you like? Do you want to go to Tim Hortons with me? And then we have these 3 different responses. Sorry, I've already eaten lunch. Sorry, I've just eaten lunch. Yeah, I haven't eaten lunch yet. Okay, so these adverbs all add to this feeling of connecting the past to the present and qualifying it a little bit. So changing the meaning a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. Sorry, I've already eaten lunch. I want you to notice this first, I've. This is the contraction of I have. And it's really common. Most people say this when they're speaking. I've eaten. And this makes listening to the present perfect a little difficult to hear because English people say it quite quickly. I've already eaten. Like it's really fast. Okay, I've already eaten lunch. So the use of already here, and you will notice it's between that verb, the auxiliary verb have, and the main verb eaten. The use of already here is just something that happened in the recent past. Now, something you might have noticed about the present perfect in general is the present perfect is indefinite time. So none of the examples I have used have any specific time in them. They're all very general, like I've cut my finger. I don't know when that happened. All I know is that there's a result in the present, but I don't say specifically when I cut my finger. So I've already eaten lunch does not have a specific time. Like if you want to use a specific time, you've got to use the simple past. I ate lunch half an hour ago. But when we're using the present perfect, it's quite general. So I've already eaten lunch means I've eaten lunch in the recent past, so I don't want to eat lunch now. Okay. B. Well, they're all B. Sorry, I've just eaten lunch. Now, just is like recent past. If I use just, it means it happened like so close to now. This could be 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, like really, really close to the present. So I've just eaten lunch. Okay, and finally, I haven't eaten lunch yet. This one is really interesting. This tiny word is actually, I think, one of the coolest words in English because what the word yet does is it connects the past to the present to the future. So, I haven't eaten lunch yet means I didn't eat lunch in the past. I am not eating lunch now, but I plan to eat lunch soon. So, or I want to eat lunch soon. So the word yet connects those three things. It's like people use yet a lot when they are talking about movies. So if someone say, hey, have you seen, oh my God, I don't even know. Okay, so I have a child. Maybe you have a child. If someone says, hey, have you seen the movie Frozen 2? And I say, no, I haven't seen it yet. That means I didn't see it in the past. I'm not watching it now, but I plan to watch it in the near future. And this is true. I have not seen Frozen 2 yet, but I have a 7-year-old daughter, so I'm going to see it soon. So yeah, yet connects the two. My daughter uses this all the time. I say, hey, honey, have you made your bed? And she goes, no, not yet. And not yet means I plan to do it soon in the future. Okay. So you'll notice that already and just are between the auxiliary verb and the main verb, but yet is at the end of the sentence. So just be careful of that. Okay, cool. Continuing on. I'm going to pause again. I'm loving this. Okay. So the first reason we use the present perfect is a past action that has a result in the present. Like, have you cut your hair? Or have you bought a new perfume? I can smell it. The second reason we use the present perfect is to talk about life experiences, and life experiences that have an indefinite time. This one is very cultural, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. Okay, so if somebody asks me the question, have you ever tried kimchi? So here we have the subject and have switched for a yes/no question. Here we have our main verb try in the past participle, tried. And in the middle we have this word ever. And ever is this word we stick in when we are asking about a life experience. And what this question means, it means in your whole life, did you try this thing? So this is my whole life. I was born in 1980. This is now, because I am 1 million years old. And this is now, and I am asking the question basically, in your whole entire life, did you have this experience? And my answer is yes, I have. Now, if you want to continue on asking questions after this, they are usually in the simple past. So, have you ever tried kimchi? Yes, I have. Then you can ask specific questions like, when did you try kimchi, or did you like it? Those are usually in the simple past. But the first general question about your general life experience is, have you ever tried kimchi? Okay, so we use ever for life experience. And if we did not have this life experience, we use never. So I could say, no, I've never tried kimchi. And again, we have never between have and the main verb. So it's the same for both. Okay, so I just want to look quickly at the difference between the simple past in this case and the present perfect. This is a great question to ask people you just met. Like, have you ever been to my country? Have you ever tried this food? Have you ever been to this restaurant? Have you ever shopped at Costco? Like, any question you're asking about someone's general life experience, have you ever is like a great question. Okay, let's take a look at the difference between the simple past and the present continuous in this case. Okay. So we can say, I went to Paris in 2009. Or I can say, I have been to Paris. Okay, so in this first example, we have a specific time, 2009. Anytime we want to use a specific time, we use the simple past. Simple past. Simple past is a definite time. So it's like, I mean, I can just say I went to Paris. That's totally fine. But if I want to add a specific time, I must use the simple past. Now, then why would I say this? Like, what is the difference between this and this? And I think this is one of the reasons why students don't use the present perfect, is because often you can also use the simple past to kind of explain the same thing. But I'm going to explain to you how they are different. Okay. This one, the simple past, is basically describing a fact. I went to Paris in 2009. This statement has no feeling. It is just a fact. But this one has a feeling. If I say, hey everybody, guess what? I've been to Paris. What this tells you, if I use the present perfect, is that this is a life experience that is important to me. Important life experience. Yeah, this is an important life experience for my identity. Now, this is something that's a really interesting and very Western idea. Many of you come from countries that are quite communal, meaning it is very important for your identity to be part of a group. And this group can be your family, your religious group, it can be your company that you work for, it can be your nationality or your town that you are from. So many cultures are communal. But Western culture is not communal. Western culture is individual. We are taught from a very young age that it is important to be unique and different from everybody else. And this use of the present perfect is a use that explains that. So if I say, hey, I've been to Paris, that means me as a unique, different individual. This is a life experience that makes me unique as a person. So it's quite like a Western tense to use. So again, both of these are correct. Neither of these are incorrect. They just have a different feeling. This one is a fact. So if someone says to you, have you ever been to Paris? You can say, yeah, I went to Paris in 2009. Or you can say, yeah, I've been to Paris, meaning like I'm a person who has been to Paris. Okay. All right. So that is life experiences. All right. I'm going to pause one more time. I think this is the last time. All right. Okay. So the last reason, so we already looked, the first reason was past finished events that have a present result. Number 2 was life experience. And number 3 is changes over time. We often use the present perfect to describe things that kind of change slowly over time and also kind of have a result in the present. So here are some examples. My daughter's face has changed recently. So my daughter's face is the subject. Has changed, past participle, recently. So if any of you have children, you know that sometimes they change very slowly, and then like one day you wake up and they look different, like your child looks grown up to you. So you can use the present perfect to describe this kind of slow, gradual change that has happened, but that you see the result in the present, like, oh my God, you've changed. Or something like this, like computers, even in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, they have developed over time. So a slow, gradual change over time. But the result in the present is like my MacBook and your like Samsung phone, right? Or we can look around in my sunroom and I can say, oh my God, my plants have grown so much this winter. So my plants is the subject, have grown. Have agrees with my plants, grown is the main verb, the past participle, and this winter is the like time in which it grew. So all of these things are like things that have changed slowly over time. So we often use the verbs change, develop, grow, become, evolved, like all of these kind of slow change words. Yeah. Okay. One last thing before we go. Is the use of for and since. Okay, now, I already told you that the present perfect is an indefinite time tense. So the present perfect alone, we generally don't use specific times. However, sometimes we need to add a specific time to the present perfect. And if we want to do that, we can use for or since. So, I've been a teacher for 15 years. I've been a teacher for 15 years. So we use for if it is a length of time, like how much time. If you want to ask the question, how long have you been a teacher? I've been a teacher for 15 years. Since is when we use a start date. So I've been a teacher since 2005. Okay, these two sentences have the exact same meaning. The only difference is this is my start date of being a teacher, so I use since, and this is my length of time being a teacher, so I use for. So you can use for and since with the present perfect to help give some definite time. But both of these, there's still this sense that this has been like a long action that is still like has meaning in the present. So I've been a teacher for 15 years kind of tells me I am still a teacher now. And I've been a teacher since 2005 tells me I'm also still a teacher right now. Okay, so that is the present perfect. The next video is the present perfect continuous. It will not be so long. And there are exercises that you can use to practice in the content section, week 6 grammar. There's a whole bunch of present perfect exercises that I will be putting the answers to not probably Friday or like on the weekend. Okay, all right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.